This cabin's game has only one survivor. The sound is the first thing you notice. Not the thunder, which cracks the sky like splitting bone, but the rain. It's a relentless, driving torrent that's turned the entire world into a gray, blurry misery. Then another sound. A man gasping, stumbling through the undergrowth. His name is Jacob. He's been walking for 2 days, trying to outrun a memory that follows him everywhere. The storm outside is nothing compared to the one raging inside him. Through the downpour, he sees it, a dark shape against the churning sky. A cabin. It's small, unassuming, just a little promise of shelter hammered together from logs and hope. He doesn't question it. He just lurches toward the door, his hand numb with cold, fumbling with the simple knob. It turns. The door groans open into a deep, silent darkness. Relief washes over him, so strong it almost brings him to his knees. He stumbles inside, slams the door shut against the storm's fury, and the world goes quiet. But the silence that follows is somehow heavier than the storm's roar. It's a dead silence. The air is still, musty, but clean. Almost too clean. He fumbles in his pack for his phone, its screen a small, desperate beacon in the black. The beam slides across the room, a simple wooden table, a couple of chairs, a stone fireplace swept clean, and on the mantelpiece, something that doesn't belong. An old, boxy cassette recorder. It's gray plastic, worn at the corners, and it looks totally out of place. There's a single cassette tape inside, its white label facing out. There are no words on it, just a crudely drawn spiral. He's exhausted, soaked to the bone, but a prickle of unease traces a cold path down his spine. Why is this here? The cabin feels less like a shelter now and more like a stage, set for a play he doesn't know the lines to. Driven by a morbid curiosity that overrides his exhaustion, he crosses the room. His fingers hesitate over the buttons. They're labeled with familiar words. Play, rewind, stop. He presses play. The button clicks down with a heavy final sound. For a moment, there's only the soft hiss of the magnetic tape turning. Then, a voice. It's calm, unnervingly so. A man's voice, but distorted, like it's being filtered through water or stretched thin over time. It has an unnatural resonance that seems to fill the small cabin, pressing in on him from all sides. Welcome, the voice says, its placid tone a bizarre contrast to the storm raging outside. You have found this place, or perhaps this place has found you. You are cold. You are tired. You seek shelter. You may have it. But shelter comes at a price. Jacob's breath catches in his throat. He wants to hit stop, to smash the cursed thing, but his hand won't move. He's frozen, held captive by the serene, monstrous voice. You are now a player, the voice continues, the words slow and deliberate. A participant in a game of survival. This cabin and the woods that surround it are the board. I am the caretaker, and the entity that resides here is the opponent. A low hum vibrates through the speaker, like a million insects taking flight at once. To survive the night and leave this place at dawn, you must abide by a simple set of rules. There are 8. Follow them, and you may walk free when the sun rises. Break them, and you will join the others who have failed. The voice pauses, and in the silence, Jacob can hear his own heart hammering against his ribs. Do not mistake this for an idle threat, the voice says, a new, sharper edge to its tone. The stakes are absolute. Your life is the wager. Let us begin. Rule number 1. You must listen to this tape only once. Do not rewind. Do not replay. The game has already begun. For a long moment after the tape clicks off, Jacob just stands there, the distorted voice echoing in the crushing silence. His first coherent thought is that it's a prank. Some sick, elaborate joke left by a twisted local or a group of college kids. But the idea is absurd. Who would bother? Who would leave a perfectly maintained cabin in the middle of nowhere stocked with a haunted tape recorder? He lets out a shaky laugh. It sounds thin and brittle. Okay, he says aloud, his voice hoarse. Very funny. A sharp pang of anger cuts through the fear. He'd been walking for 2 days, his fiancée's last words a constant looping torture in his mind. It's not your fault, Jacob. But it was. He'd been driving. He'd looked away for just a second. And now he's here, lost in a storm, dealing with some lunatic's idea of entertainment. He has to get out. Storm be damned. He'd rather face the wind and rain than stay in this place with its creepy voice and its stupid imaginary game. He glances at the tape recorder, a wave of defiance surging through him. Just to prove a point to himself, his fingers twitch, hovering over the rewind button. Rule number 1. Listen only once. The memory of the voice is sharp, clear. He hesitates. It's ridiculous, but a sliver of fear, cold and sharp, cuts through his anger. What if? No, he mutters, shaking his head. No. He turns his back on the machine and strides to the door, yanking it open. The wind shrieks, tearing at him, throwing a sheet of rain into the cabin. He doesn't care. He steps out into the maelstrom, into the thrashing trees and the liquid dark. He just needs to put distance between himself and that voice. He walks for what feels like an hour, his phone's weak light cutting a pathetic beam through the oppressive blackness. The forest is a labyrinth of slick roots and grasping branches. He keeps his head down, pushing forward, expecting any second to find the trail he lost. But the terrain never changes. The same gnarled trees, the same thick, grasping undergrowth. A chilling sense of familiarity begins to creep in. He stops, panting, and shines his light on a large, moss-covered boulder to his right. It has a distinctive split down the middle, like a cracked skull. He's seen it before. His blood runs cold. He turns, scrambling in the opposite direction, his heart pounding with a new kind of fear. He moves faster now, more recklessly, tripping and sliding in the mud. 10 minutes later, exhausted, he stops again. And there it is, to his right. The same split boulder grinning at him in the dark. It's impossible. He's been walking in a straight line. Or what he thought was a straight line. Panic, stark and absolute, seizes him. The forest isn't just a forest. It's a cage. He remembers the second rule from the tape. A rule his brain hadn't even consciously registered until this very moment. Rule number 2. Do not leave the cabin until dawn. He broke it. He broke a rule. A sound slices through the storm's howl, a sharp crack, the sound of a heavy branch breaking. But it wasn't from above. It was from somewhere behind him, in the darkness. He whips around, his phone light trembling, cutting a frantic arc through the trees. Nothing, just rain and shadows. Crack. Closer this time. He isn't alone. The realization hits him like a physical blow. The prank isn't a prank. The game is real. And something is in the woods with him. He doesn't wait to see what it is. He turns and runs, not caring about direction, just pure animal flight. He crashes through the trees, branches whipping his face, his lungs burning. He can hear it behind him now. Not footsteps, something else. A heavy dragging sound. A rhythmic thump scrape that gets steadily closer, accompanied by a low, wet, guttural breathing. He bursts through a final line of trees and sees it. The cabin. He's right back where he started. He doesn't question it. He sprints across the small clearing, throws himself at the door, and slams it shut, ramming the bolt across with a trembling hand. He presses his back against the solid wood, his chest heaving, just listening. The dragging sound stops just outside. The guttural breathing continues, a wet, rasping noise that seems to vibrate through the very wood of the door. Jacob holds his breath. Then comes a sound that turns his soul to ice. A soft, wet sniffing at the crack beneath the door. It's inspecting the threshold. It knows he's inside. After an eternity, the sniffing stops. The breathing recedes, and then silence, save for the patter of the rain. He slides down the door and sits on the floor, head in his hands, shaking uncontrollably. He broke a rule. The consequences were immediate and terrifying. The entity the tape spoke of. It's real. He is a player. And he is trapped. Hours pass. Jacob doesn't move. He's too afraid. The cabin, which had felt like a trap, now feels like the only sanctuary in a world that has turned hostile. The storm has lessened to a low grumble, but the atmosphere inside is thick with dread. He finally pushes himself to his feet, his limbs stiff and cold. He needs light. He needs warmth. His eyes fall on the stone fireplace. A fire. It would push back the cold, the darkness, the suffocating fear. He remembers seeing a small stack of firewood and a box of matches next to the hearth. It's a simple human comfort. A primal act of defiance. He crosses the room, his resolve hardening. He will not cower in the dark. He kneels, arranging the kindling and logs with trembling hands. His mind is racing. He needs to think, to strategize. This is a game, and games have rules. He has to remember them. He closes his eyes, forcing his mind back to the tape, trying to recall every word. Rule number 1. Listen to this tape only once. He'd followed that one, at least. Rule number 2. Do not leave the cabin until dawn. He'd failed that one, and nearly paid the price. What else? His mind is a jumble. The voice was so calm, so methodical. He feels for the matchbox, his fingers closing around it. He pulls out a match, its red tip a tiny promise of light. He strikes it against the box. The match flares to life, and in that instant, he remembers. Rule number 3. You shall not light a fire. The memory hits him with the force of a physical blow, just as the flame touches the kindling. The dry wood catches immediately. A small, hungry flicker of orange blooming in the darkness. Jacob stares at it, horrified. He's done it again. He broke another rule. He scrambles to snuff it out, batting at the small flame with his hands, but it's too late. The fire has taken hold, growing with an unnatural speed, roaring to life in the fireplace like a hungry beast. The cabin is bathed in a flickering, dancing light. But it's not comforting. It's a beacon. The smoke, thick and black, begins to pour from the chimney. Jacob backs away, his heart sinking into a pit of cold dread. He knows what he's done. He's sent a signal. He stands in the center of the room, turning slowly, scanning the single window. The rain has almost stopped. For a long time, nothing happens. The only sound is the manic crackling of the fire. Then he sees it. A flicker of movement at the edge of the woods. He squints, trying to make out the shape. It's tall and thin, impossibly thin, like a line drawing of a man sketched against the trees. It's perfectly still, just watching the cabin, watching the smoke, the entity. It's no longer just a sound. It has a form. As he watches, paralyzed, another shape appears beside it, and another, and another. Soon the entire tree line is filled with them, an army of silent, stick-like figures, their forms barely visible in the gloom, all turn toward him. They don't move. They just stand there, a silent audience. Jacob stumbles back, a cry catching in his throat. He presses himself against the far wall, his eyes wide with terror. The fire roars, casting his terrified shadow, large and distorted, against the wall. He has to survive until dawn, but dawn feels a lifetime away. He has to remember the rules. He squeezes his eyes shut, blocking out the sight of the silent watchers, forcing his panicked mind to focus. Rule number 4. Do not speak your name or the names of those you have lost. This rule chills him more than any other. It's personal, cruel. How does it know? His fiancée, Sarah. Her name is a constant wound in his heart. The thought of not being able to even think it feels like losing her all over again. Rule number 5. You may eat the food provided in the cabin, but nothing else. He glances around. He hasn't seen any food, but the rule implies it's here. A test of restraint. Rule number 6. At the stroke of midnight, you must stand and face the north wall for 1 full minute. Do not turn around, no matter what you hear. Midnight. He looks at his phone. 11:48 p.m. The time is crawling toward him. What's going to happen behind him? The thought of standing with his back to the room, to that window and its silent audience, is almost unbearable. Rule number 7. Ignore the knocks. They are not for you. Knocks. The rule is designed to prey on hope, to turn salvation into a trap. Rule number 8. At first light, you must burn the tape. The final rule. The end game. It seems so simple, yet he knows it will be the hardest task of all. His phone screen goes dark. 11:50 p.m. 10 minutes. 10 minutes until he has to turn his back on whatever horrors this cabin has in store. The figures outside haven't moved. The fire roars. Jacob slides to the floor, his back against the wall, and begins the long wait for midnight, a prisoner in a game he is desperately losing. The minutes leading up to midnight are the longest of Jacob's life. He sits on the floor, watching the time on his phone, the numbers glowing like a doomsday clock. 11:55. 11:56. The fire roars. The silent figures still stand at the tree line, their presence a constant suffocating pressure. He tries not to think about what will happen when he turns around. He tries not to think about Sarah. Her name is a phantom limb, an ache he's forbidden to soothe. 11:50 9分. He gets to his feet, his legs unsteady. He finds the north wall, the one with the single dark window. He can see his own pale, terrified reflection superimposed over the silent watchers outside. He takes a deep breath. The phone screen changes. 12 o'clock. He turns, pressing his face into the rough logs of the wall. The wood is cold and smells of dust and ancient fear. He closes his eyes. 1 minute. 60 seconds. He begins to count. 1, 2, 3. The fire dies. Not slowly, but instantly, as if a switch was flipped. The sudden plunge into absolute darkness is deafening. 10, 11, 12. A floorboard creaks behind him, right in the center of the room. He clenches his fists, digging his nails into his palms. Do not turn around. 17, 18, 19. A soft, wet whisper slides through the air. It's right behind his ear. It speaks a single word, a name. Sarah. Jacob's entire body convulses. It's the voice from the tape, but it's here now. Intimate, a violation of his grief. Tears spring to his eyes. He wants to scream, to spin around and face the thing that dares speak her name. But he holds himself rigid. 25. 26. He hears something being dragged across the floor, the thump scrape from the woods. It's inside with him. It circles the room slowly. He can feel its presence, a cold spot moving through the darkness. 34. 35. A knock comes at the door, not frantic, but a calm, polite tapping. Tap, tap, tap. "Forest Service," a man's voice calls out, friendly and authoritative. "Is anyone in there? We saw smoke." Hope, treacherous and bright, flares in Jacob's chest. Rule 7. Ignore the knocks. This is a test. A cruel, calculated test. 43. 44. The knocking gets more insistent. "Hello? We know you're in there. Open the door." The entity behind him whispers again, a sibilant hiss. "They can save you, Jacob." It knows his name. He broke Rule 4 without even speaking. It knows everything. 51. 52. The knocking becomes a frantic pounding. At the same time, he hears a soft scratching from the wall in front of him. From the other side, 58. 59. The sound behind him is directly at his back now. He can feel a cold breath on his neck. 60. It all stops. The sounds cease. The cold spot vanishes. Silence falls once more. He waits, counting another 10 seconds before he finally, shakily turns around. The room is empty. The fire is dead. The window shows only the dark, empty tree line. The figures are gone. He survived midnight. The rest of the night passes in a blur of terrified wakefulness. He just sits in the center of the room, waiting for the first hint of dawn. The final rule, his only focus. As the blackness outside begins to fade to a bruised purple, he feels a flicker of hope. First light spills through the window, gray and weak, but it's the most beautiful thing Jacob has ever seen. It's time. Rule number 8. At first light, you must burn the tape. He scrambles to the fireplace. He needs to restart the fire. He grabs the matchbox. One match left. He strikes it. It fails to light. He strikes it again. Nothing. Panic bubbles in his throat. He strikes it again and again until the red tip is mangled and useless. The fire. The entity had extinguished it. It won't let him light it again. How is he supposed to burn the tape? He looks at the cassette player. He has to destroy it. He grabs the recorder and smashes it against the stone hearth. The plastic shatters, but the tape itself, the 2 spools of black ribbon, is intact. He grabs it, pulling, trying to tear it. It's impossibly strong, like wire. A low chuckle echoes through the room, not from a speaker, but from all around him. "You cannot destroy it," the caretaker's voice says, laced with amusement. "Not without fire. And I have taken your fire." The sun is rising. Time is running out. He looks around desperately, his eyes falling on a small, sealed pantry door he hadn't noticed before. He throws it open. Inside, on a single shelf, is a can of beans and a small, rusted can of sterno, jellied cooking fuel. Fire. He grabs the can, his hands shaking so hard he can barely pry off the lid. He sets it in the fireplace, wraps the black tape ribbon around the kindling, and clicks on his phone's flashlight. He focuses the beam through the small magnifying glass on his multi-tool, directing the concentrated light onto the fuel. "Clever," the voice whispers, the amusement gone, replaced by a cold fury. But it is too late. The room begins to darken, even as the sun rises. Black, oily smoke seeps from the walls, coalescing in the center of the room. It rises, taking the form of the thing from the woods, but worse. Taller, its limbs bending at impossible angles. It has no face, just a smooth expanse of darkness, but he can feel its hatred fixed on him. The fuel flickers. A tiny blue flame appears. The entity shrieks, a sound of static and tearing metal. It lunges. Jacob throws himself back as a long, spindly arm smashes the stone where he was just kneeling. The tiny flame catches a piece of kindling. The fire licks at the black ribbon of the tape. The entity shrieks again and turns on the fire, but as its shadow form touches the flame, it recoils as if burned. The tape begins to melt and curl. As it burns, the entity dissolves. It screams in agony as its form unravels. The black smoke whipping around the room before being sucked violently up the chimney, as if the house itself is purging a poison. And then, silence. The fire in the hearth dies down to a gentle flicker. The sun streams through the window, bright and warm. It's over. Jacob stumbles out of the cabin into the bright morning. The forest looks like a forest again. The air is clean. He is alive. He has won. He walks away without looking back. After an hour, he finally reaches into his pocket, searching for his dead phone. His fingers close around something small and rectangular. It's not his phone. He pulls it out. It's a cassette tape. The plastic is clean, new. The label is stark white. He turns it over in his hand, his blood turning to ice. A single word is written on the label, in neat, block handwriting. Play.